The DA in the Eastern Cape is currently leading a march in Butterworth against the high levels of poverty in that province. Last year, 9 children died in the Butterworth area due to malnutrition or starvation. And earlier this year, a desperate mother took the lives of her children before killing herself due to extreme poverty. Now, the Human Rights Commission also started an investigation looking into the issues of malnutrition in the province. Abongile Jantjies is on the story and joins us now. Abongile, what is the DA saying about the extreme poverty in that province, and why Butterworth in particular?
Well, Alicia, a very good morning to you and to the viewers at home. Scores of DA members have gathered here at Butterworth to hold this march. They are planning to paint the town of Butterworth blue to highlight issues affecting the poor and marginalized. As you can see behind me, that they are still gathering. They are supposed to start at 10:30. They are not running out of time. They're just waiting for other members and even citizens who are feeling the pinch of the economic of today, the high cost of living. They are saying that here people are poor, Alicia, and saying that the government of the Eastern Cape, even the government at national level, are not doing sufficiently to ensure that rural communities, people who are poor, who are dependent on social grants, they do get the necessary help they need. You'd see the cost of inflation, the rise of inflation here in this country, they are the ones who are mostly affected. Let's bring in the DA leader here in the Eastern Cape, Andrew Whitfield. Sir, thanks a lot for your time. If someone would say you are using this opportunity for electioneering, how would you respond to that?
I would respond by saying that the harsh reality of most South Africans is that it's becoming harder to make ends meet. That is a fact. It is a fact that national and provincial government are not doing enough to address that. Here in the Eastern Cape, we've got the highest unemployment rate. So raising these issues is not just about politics, it's fundamentally about caring for some of the poorest South Africans who are often starving to death, taking the lives of their own children into their own hands and then committing suicide because they can't feed their children. This is about dignity, it's about care, and it's about getting government to understand that there are solutions available, which the DA will be tabling today to the Department of Social Development and at a national level, interventions that can solve the cost of living crisis and ease the burden on some of our poorest citizens in the country.
What are those interventions?
Well, one of them is to reduce the taxes and levies on fuel in order to bring down food costs. Rising fuel costs and food costs are driving the cost of living crisis in amongst South Africans, where they can't afford to feed themselves. We're seeing broken families and broken homes as a consequence of this crisis. And that is leading to a deterioration of the social fabric in society. We are proposing that we increase the child grant from below 500 Rand to over 600 Rand. More money in the pockets of the poor means more food in their stomachs. At the end of the day, government pays lip service to these issues. When they talk about unemployment, inequality and poverty, why are they not dealing with the root causes of those issues, which are crime, corruption and the cost of living? We will continue to propose these solutions, including reducing import tariffs on food products that are brought into the country that are consumed mostly by poor South Africans. We'll continue driving these issues and also identifying issues and areas to unlock the economy, such as making sure people get their title deeds, to unlock the capital that is available in our economy, to give people hope that they can climb the opportunity ladder out of poverty and into prosperity.
Yesterday, when I spoke to the Premier of the province, Oscar Mabuyane, about your march that you have planned, he described it as a desperate attempt for politics, and you shouldn't be using the poor and marginalized to earn cheap political scores. How do you respond to that?
Well, nobody knows how to weaponize the poor more than the ANC. That's what I would say to that. And I would say to the Premier that instead of him responding in that manner, he should be welcoming the fact that we are highlighting the cost of living crisis. He should be welcoming our interventions and proposals. We should be working together to find solutions for the cost of living crisis. I've never heard the Premier talk about the cost of living crisis. The Eastern Cape, as I said, have got the highest unemployment rate, some of the worst incidents of poverty, where young children are starving to death and boiling twigs and leaves in order to survive in places like Ngushwa and other areas of the Eastern Cape. We have a crisis in the country. So, if the Premier believes this is politicizing it, I would say to the Premier, he's not doing enough. He says he's doing enough. People are getting grants. They're getting grants late. He says children are going to school and they're being fed every day. It's not true. It's a lie. The Premier is misleading his province and his people. And all we're asking for the Premier to do is to accept in good faith that we're a political organisation that is raising important issues that ordinary South Africans are raising. And you'll see today a number of ordinary South Africans with no DA T-shirts on are joining this march. That is a sign that there is an organic interest in the crisis that is facing South Africans. And the Premier, instead of responding in the way that he has, should really embrace this opportunity to table his own solutions to deal with the crisis.
Why did you choose this town of Butterworth? What are the thorny issues that led to the DA choosing this to hold this march here?
Well, it's a fact that the eastern side of our province is the hardest hit by poverty and unemployment. We believe that the cost of living crisis is really affecting people on this side of the province more than in many areas. But also there was the tragic incident where a woman took the life of her 3 children and then turned on herself and committed suicide in a murder-suicide where SABC found the cause of death of the incident to be hunger and poverty. And that was what the police said. This really woke up inside me how urgent this crisis is and how important it is that somebody must speak up. That is why the DA is speaking up. It is why we will continue to table proposals. It's why we're here in Butterworth, where some of the hardest hit people by this cost of living crisis are living literally from day to day and door to door because they don't know where their next meal is going to come from. And we don't believe that's acceptable. And I think that the Premier can make certain interventions and we hope that he'll listen.
But one might say all these efforts are just reactionary and you are trying to score those political points.
Yeah, well, for a number of years, the DA has tabled these proposals in Parliament during the debate in the State of the Nation address over the last 2 years. John Steenhuisen has made recommendations through the various committees in Parliament. We've made recommendations. We're the only party to picket against the increasing fuel prices that are burdening the country, and that's been over the last few years. And because the fuel price increases drive the cost of living crisis, this is not a reaction. This is part of a proactive plan to get government to wake up, to take action and to realize that they are responsible and have mechanisms at their disposal. The reason that they're not unlocking those mechanisms, that only they can answer. It's anathema to me that government would sit back and say the DA is politicizing an issue that they're doing nothing to resolve.
Where to from here, Mr. Whitfield?
Well, we're going to table the memorandum today. We're going to make sure that it finds its way into the MEC's hands here in the province. We're also going to take the memorandum to the Minister of Social Development at a national level. My colleague Bridget Masango, who's the DA Shadow Minister on Social Development, will be dealing with this issue in Parliament as well. And you'll see this is part of a much broader proactive campaign to highlight issues that matter to ordinary South Africans. And we won't apologize for that. We'll continue to highlight those issues because we believe that these are the issues that matter to South Africans the most.
Thank you for your time, sir. Andrew Whitfield, the DA leader here in the Eastern Cape, Alicia, taking us through what is expected to happen throughout the day. Yesterday we did indeed speak to the Premier of the province, Oscar Mabuyane, describing that this march that is planned by the DA is just a means to score political points and that they are using the vulnerable people of our province to gain these points. But yeah, we'll see what the action from the people where they will be delivering this memorandum have to say about it. For now, they are still gathering. We shall bring you more as the day unfolds.